Da, 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 da. Oh, hello, you guys. All right, so you know that this weekend is the weekend of unplanned lives. I feel really, really good today. I have my comfy sweater on, and it is really gloomy out. I'm still really adjusting to the weather out here. It's basically always dull. I'm used to having a lot of sun, being even having spent the past like year in Texas. I got used to like sun all the time beaming through the windows, and here it's gloomy all the time. It's like an actual literal nightmare as far as the gloominess is concerned. Hi, Gray. So you see the topic, is a king without a kingdom? And I titled it that because it's like the general theme of it is without the elements that come along with the title. Like, does the title count? And I don't just literally want to talk about kings and things like that. There's just like a plethora of topics that have come to my mind because, you know, I read everybody's comments. And during my lives, I can't see all the comments. Like every once in a while, I will look, especially if I'm talking. And unless it's like the chilling kind of lives where we're just kind of like chilling out and we're talking to each other, I don't get a chance to see like all the comments. And so because I can't see all the comments, sometimes I go back and I'll read everybody's comments. And a lot of what you guys say, it makes me think of things, right? So I've been thinking about this kind of faux gender war that's been going on, and like male and female relations and things like that. And when I had Simond on yesterday and he was talking about his views, I was thinking about like a lot of the things you guys were saying in the comments. Hi, Degenerate. Hi, Mr. Mister. Hi, Sturm. You're born kings. Okay, Prince. Okay, so this is what I was thinking, right? If a king doesn't have a kingdom, is he still a king? Because all of the things that, I mean, are you just a king by birth, or does there have to be some action behind it? And this is what I want to talk about when we're talking about building our community, having good, like healthy male-female relations. Like when we're having those discussions, I wonder how relevant are a person's actions to that? And this came to me because Simond was saying yesterday, he was saying, well, Irene, in the manosphere, we talk about a lot of things that help men be better men. And I thought, well, if the rhetoric has nothing to do with leadership and how to manage your subordinates and our social hierarchy, which would be the women and the children, how then can you claim that manhood is being supported? And to the same quotient, right? When I think of the feminists and things like that, you can be female, but how can you be a woman, right? Without the elements that are part of womanhood. Now, admittedly, a lot of this is subjective. Hi, Tahar. Hi, Cortez. Hi, Degenerate. Yeah, Degenerate, I think the only gender war is on YouTube because I just don't know a lot of men who carry on this philosophy into the real world. Like all the men I know really, really, really like women. So, yeah, there's that. Somebody told me they said something like about my man, like a MGTOW person was saying something about my man, like maybe I was worried. I don't like MGTOW because I was worried my man would get a hold of their rhetoric, and I was like, my man knows what MGTOW is, and he thinks it's stupid. But that also could be because he's successful, like as a man. So I guess if you are successful with your woman, like you have a woman, she's submissive, your household's going great, you're not having problems, then you don't have a reason to be disgruntled. And therefore, people like men who are successful, it doesn't resonate with them. Which brings me back to, is a king without a kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. Christ was a king when he was being crucified, end of discussion. Yeah, but the revolutionary Christ was God incarnate. So I don't know if that's a good equivalent. You know what I'm saying? And he was leading during his life. So there was action there. So, I mean, I get the Christ connection, but like there was action. And so the action kind of makes all the difference. Void of the action, do you get to keep the title? That's the question. Hi, Big O. Hi, DJ Moss. Okay, David was not a king. He earned it through God. Again, but then we're talking action again, right? Hi, goodness rated. Yes, Prince, but let's not argue semantics. I know that Christ is a title. Do you follow what I'm saying? So it's okay. So, with that said, it got me thinking about how women are really made for men, you know? And a lot of women who can't give birth, or women who can give birth but they can't nurse, a lot of times they feel, not all, right? But a great deal of them feel less than a woman. Because a big part of being a woman is that we do have that ability, like we do have the ability to carry life, um, and to nurse a child and all of that. And in this society, we've really moved away from looking at the things that make us what we are as benefits and more looking at them as liabilities that we want to separate ourselves from. So when I think of these concepts, I think of women are designed a certain way. And by design, we need protection and leadership and care from men, right? It's like essential. And so if a man is not leading, then is he walking in his manhood? And if a woman is not submitting, is she walking in her womanhood, right? And this is not to say all women have to have children or all people have to get married or, you know, like I don't want to get off into silly stuff where it's like, but all, and, you know, no, not all. But is it possible? I mean, that's what I'm wondering. Right, but I just used King. Hi, Taz. Do you want to come in here, Taz? Are you going to be nice? I'll send you the link just in case you decide you want to. I use the word king, prince. I just used it because it was an easy one to use. I could say, you know, is a cat without fur and a tail and a meow? Do you know what I mean? Like I could do a lot of things. I could say, is a rose without petals, leaves, and a stem? Like it just was is a king without a kingdom was just like an easy one to do. Do you follow me? So I don't want you to really dwell too much on the word king, if you can help it, because I don't want you to take it too seriously, the fact that I used king. Hey, stay true to oneself. Okay, so I do think that Black men can be leaders because I live with a Black man and he's a leader. But I wonder if like failure in our roles makes us incapable of appreciating the roles and the status quo, right? So if I sit here, so I had a really interesting conversation with Simone, and then I had a really interesting, hi Taz, conversation with the, and I was telling Simone, I said, well, Simone was telling me like Black men don't want to come back to the hood essentially for poor Black women, but then they also don't want successful Black women. And I ran that thought by Obsidian because Simon watches his platform, and Obsidian said that Black men don't want a Black woman that's too successful. And I started thinking about MGTOW, some of the comments that were in the comment section, and this sort of catch-22. I think Obsidian said a woman should work about 25 hours a week. Unless she has a really good job, that's not going to support her. So then that's finding a woman who can't support herself. And is that then acceptable to men? And then also, is the inability to lead, does that mean that a man is not a man? I go back to the MGTOW guy and the comment he made about my husband. And I said, my husband thinks MGTOW is silly, but that could be because he's successful in his manhood, right? He doesn't have a problem with his children. He doesn't have a problem with his woman. He's led a successful life where women have been in submission to him. He hasn't crossed any of those barriers. So since his manhood and his life as a man has been successful, he doesn't understand the concept of people who have been unsuccessful and are disgruntled. So then are they not men? Because, I would often call them males and they find that very offensive. And I would just say, because to me, they lack the qualities of actual manhood. And that's where I feel a lot of their frustration stems from. Taz, am I making any sense? Do you see where I'm going with this? Thank you so much, Rayshawn.
No, I mean it make perfect sense to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the difference between a male and a man would be, but drawing the distinction based on what you see and the difference between how you would define a man and anything less, I completely agree. You know what I'm saying? I completely understand where you're going with it.
Yeah, I guess when I say male or a man, specifically what I mean is like, I'm female, right? Like I have a uterus, I have ovaries. Men have, males, like when you're not female, you're male, you have a penis and all that. I mean, like biologically, we are something, right? But I think obviously my daughters are girls, they're not women. So what makes me a woman and doesn't make them women? Do you know what I mean? Other than age. What makes, I look at a 20-year-old and I'm like, oh, well, that's still a child. And to me, it's like the mental thing that make, because I know some people like in their 40s who are still like children, both men and women. And so I guess to me, when I say a man, I'm thinking somebody who is capable of carrying the load of manhood, not just somebody who's biologically male. because having the package doesn't mean that you can carry the load. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like the same with womanhood. Like I view a woman as somebody that um, has blossomed into the fullness of being able to carry the load of being a woman, not just being biologically female. And I don't know if I could use better terms, but that's kind of what I mean. Like a mindset and a behavioral pattern of a person. Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely understand, like I said, and so for me, and it like, and the question for me though, and when we started talking about this is, where are the goalposts moving to? Because it seems like the goalposts are moving inward instead of outward, meaning you have to do less to be considered a man now. You have to do less to be considered a righteous woman now, as opposed to before you had to work harder, and there were certain parameters that if you didn't have them, it was harder to define you as a man. Something simple as having a wife, having a woman, having children, that was defined under masculinity and under manhood at one point. And so now when you say we're men, but we just don't want kids or we just don't want a wife, I have to question if that goalpost, like I said, if the goalposts are moving inward and what a man is becoming easier to be, which scares me because I see the quote unquote transgender crowd trying to move into manhood and defining what a man is. And so if you don't have to go out and secure a wife, breed children as a man, anybody can be one. I'm just saying there used to be certain parameters that showed you what a man was. Once you start taking some of those away, anybody could be a man.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I think too. It's like then there's no standard. It's just like here I'm existing. And I also thought this was interesting. Like men often define their manhood by uh, acquisition, right? Like I have a lot of stuff, I've acquired a lot of stuff, I have a career, I'm making money, therefore I'm a man. And I often find men who don't have the leadership aspect and the ability to be dominant, I find that they are often frustrated because they'll feel like they've accomplished manhood and then women still don't want them. And if I try to explain to them, like, there's like another layer to this outside of acquiring money. And that is like, those are personality traits and abilities for leadership. And that they feel that women don't want real men. Then they'll say, well, women don't want real men. Women don't want smart men. Women don't want accomplished men. Women don't want nerds. And I'm like, because the acquisition is just part of the package. It's sort of like being pretty is just part of the woman package. Do you know what I mean? There are like other things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was completely agreeing because you might want a beautiful woman, but you don't want a beautiful airhead, you know? So yeah, I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, or a beautiful woman who can't cook or clean or, manage bills or any of that. Um, or I would go as far as to say a beautiful woman who wouldn't want to be a mother, do you know? I'm not saying everybody
Mm-hmm.
has to have kids, but or wouldn't be good at it, So I feel like in that case, can we say that a person is a man or a woman void of the ability to do anything that is part of the package? And is this contributing to the gender war? Like would be the so-called gender war, because I don't know how valid like the gender war thing is. Because if people are feeling salty and sour and they don't feel that they have to play their role or interact with the other sex in any sort of helpful, meaningful way, does that like breed animosity between the sexes? Like that's what I've been thinking on. What is this? Okay. That's crazy. Hi, Sean. Yeah, Charze, I think it is just on YouTube. But here's the thing. This is why I don't think we can ignore what happens on YouTube. I don't think we can ignore what happens on YouTube because people are very impressionable. You know, people are very, very impressionable, and not all people, but many people, because we're taught to regurgitate and emulate what we see in media. Like, we're taught that as children, right? We teach our children, you know, if Barney says A, B, C, D, E, F, G on TV, then they say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we reward them for that regurgitation and emulation, right? And we do this throughout their childhood. Then they become adolescents. They get, you know, what they want to buy, what clothes and styles are popular off of television and from media. And then they become adults, and then we expect them to not act on what they see and hear in media. And I don't think that's realistic. I think some people, their minds are very like malleable, and so a lot of the rhetoric that's spewed could just be entertainment for a lot of people. But my concern is that there are weak-minded people in the world, and they believe these things, especially when a person is talking as if they are, these are like, this is a serious lifestyle for them. Like, this is really how I live my life. This is really what I believe. And a lot of what people say online will resonate with people, right? Like, I'm so angry, you know, this bad thing happened to me in this relationship, or this is what happened to me with this woman or man. And so when that resonates with the person, they're more likely to accept the dialogue, especially on YouTube, because I'm sitting here, I'm a person, I'm talking to you. This is a lot different than watching a television show or an actor in a far, far away land. I feel like we are more personable because we're average people. Do you know what I mean? And so it's easier to relate and agree. When your mentality is that of one who thinks in terms of self-sufficiency, providing, protecting, and leading, and action supportive of that, then you're a man rather than just a male. I would agree with that. Um, I would agree with that, Mr. Mister. And I think too, I don't know that you can be a man in absence of being able to control. And I know that a lot of women don't like that word, but that's just the word that I'm going to use. Um, I don't think you can be a man in absence of the ability to control and lead women and children. Because I think that men, there's a hierarchy among men, but that's like a bunch of CEOs getting together in a room and then, you know, establishing a hierarchy. The real proof is in how you manage your company, right? Can you be a CEO without a company? I could have titled that this too. You know, if you're incapable of managing the company, then you're not much of a CEO. Do you know what I mean? Um, so I would agree with you, Mr. Mister.
Yeah, I think that's real shit though. Like, because like I said, like it's a point where you, like, if you are a man, there's a point where you're going to differentiate from the other males in the room who aren't. The men are going to gravitate to each other because, again, the men have wives, the men have children, the men have experience with failed relationships. And so, like, a lot of what I see on YouTube, I think, is a result of not even being in situations where you did fail enough to learn how to succeed. Because sometimes people get it so easy in life that they never learn how to bounce back from failure or from rejection. And I think, like, that's part of this conversation too, that a man has to be able to accept rejection and failure and bounce back with the same energy as if it never happened.
Yeah, I think that has to do with like the feminization of men too, because I think men have it harder in life in that there's a great burden that comes with leadership, right? As a parent, there's a great burden to me as a mother. When I have children, it's a great responsibility. And for men, there's a great burden to leadership. And there's also a burden to like find a partner, and care for that person and lead that person. And that's just a lot of a burden. I can't imagine having that burden. And I think if you fail at that, or if you aren't successful and you haven't had healthy male role models, you could be soured like by the experience. And instead of, because I feel like we can learn a lot from failure, right? We can revamp what we've done. We can look at where we went wrong. That allows us to do it better the next time. But I think they become very sensitive. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. I just mean like they become sensitive because of it. And then they kind of throw a tantrum, like little kids, like, I don't want to play anymore. And I'm not knocking that. And I know MGTOW, y'all hate me, so I'm not directing this at you guys exactly. I'm saying this happens both on the male and female spectrum, which brings me to something else. A lot of rhetoric being spewed by men these days, I feel like it's supportive of the feminist agenda. So it's like if women say, so the feminists say this to women: men don't care about you, they're violent, they only care about sex, they don't view women as people, we have to have control over them, their behavior is toxic, things like that. And you have these sect of men who want to shirk everything that is manhood, which is actual leadership and guidance of women and children, and exchange it in for just sex with and access to women, and hate of children. Then I feel like it kind of feeds into what the feminists say about men. Then they just look like barbarians who just want to have sex with women and hate them, and hate the products of womanhood. And then I feel like it's a beast that feeds into itself. I don't know if you guys are following me on that, but
Nah, I was when I was on the old man show. One of the times I was on there talking to him, I was explaining to him that what I hear is a feminist agenda. When you're telling me that we need to worry about women being more physically fit, we need to worry about women acting better within their relationships. Everything he said to me was about correcting women. And in my mind, women talk to women and they self-correct on their issues because they know feminine responses. For me, I can't, if I tell a woman to get in the gym, it's based on what she looks like right there at the moment. It's not based on the future of femininity or what women feel, because only a woman knows how women feel. And so when I was talking to him that night, I was telling him, like, look, bro, like, I hear what you're saying and I don't disagree with it all, but a lot of it sounds like what women are saying to other women. The things that women need to do for each other is what the men are saying to the women now. I mean, it's really weird. Like, they sound like feminist talking points because the idea here is to correct women at all costs.
I just want to take a quick second to say thank you, Lede. Yeah, y'all know my hair is not naturally curly; it's wavy. So I did. No, my hair is wavy. Yeah, it's wavy. It's not curly. So I did a flexi rod set because Lede was like, my curls were popping. And I did a flexi rod set this morning so I could have curls. But over the next couple of days, as y'all will know, my hair will start to fall and it will not be curly anymore because these won't stay. They've already fell a lot since this morning. But I'm enjoying them while I have them. So thank you so much, Lede. And Deep Verma said, men can be replaced with social programs. Men are feminized because the social contract has been ripped up and thrown out. So I just want to say this: men cannot be replaced by social programs.
By social programs.
Yeah, I think there's this argument that's going around on the internet that like the state, like welfare and child support, has replaced men. And I think that's just silly because men are not ATMs. Like, that's not all that a man is bringing to the table.
That's like saying a woman can be replaced by a fucking sex doll. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't
Yeah,
insult us like that, man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
a social program can't replace a fucking man. They might can replace some of what a man could possibly provide, but the social programs that's in place right now, they don't give you a fourth of what a actual living, working, breathing man can do for you. Like, it's not like these social programs are doing anything but just simply keeping people afloat. So let's not beat the men down that bad. Like, damn.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think that it's crazy to me that men will talk about being devalued in one way, and women will too, right? Women will talk about being reduced just to sexual objects. Men will talk about being reduced just to pocketbooks. But then when we get into these discussions, a man will say, well, I can be replaced by a social program. Well, you're a human being. And there's an aspect, there's like, first of all, men balance women out. Just as a woman, I can tell you this. Like, my man balances me out. He balances out my energy, because women have a lot of like emotionality about them, which is okay. And the same way that women balance men out. So, yes, it's great to have somebody there. And again, this goes back to what men and women are. If I give birth to a child as a woman, or in the late stages of my pregnancy, during when I'm nursing, my needs are different. That's why a man compliments me, right? Because ideally, the way that we are built is designed for us not to be alone as women. And the softness that we have, that gentleness, that empathy allows us to be supportive to men who have to live a life not emotionless, because men have emotion, but it just has to be more tempered and controlled. So when they come in the environment with their woman is able to give them that love and that tenderness and that support and that obedience that they're not going to be getting in the outside world, right? Because the outside world is a battleground for men, especially Black men. So when we are reducing ourselves down, I just think that that's crazy, because I feel like that's buying into the agenda. And Angel said, yeah, MGTOW actually solidifies what feminists claim. They really do. The things that MGTOW say under my videos, like, to be a woman who really promotes submission in women, male headship, and a healthy male-female relationships, when MGTOW comes under my videos, I'm like, you're talking about women are only good for sex, pumping and dumping, going and having surrogates, artificial wombs. Like, this dehumanization of women is exactly what the feminists claim men are, little more than barbarians. And that's why I can't really rock with the feminist movement or the MGTOWs or the gays, because I feel like they're all sides to the same, they're all pages from the same book, so to speak. They're all pushing an agenda that is anti-family, that is anti-healthy male-female relations. They're all working from a hurt or damaged place. And I mean, I get it. And a lot of their rhetoric resonates with me. Like, I feel and I understand there's truth to some of what the feminists say. There's truth to what the MGTOWs say. There's no truth to anything the gays say. Their just whole movement is full of crap. But but bullshit is often laced with truth. I mean, for lack of a better word, like, you have to lace those sorts of things with truth so that they can resonate with the average person and suck weak-minded people in. It just
Well,
is.
from my understanding and what I'm getting from it, thus far, dealing with a lot of these dudes on YouTube, because I don't know nobody in real life that's saying they, MGTOW or no shit like that. It appears though that the MGTOW crowd is the bottom of the barrel of the manosphere, because keep in mind, I thought coming into this that the manosphere was one separate thing, well, a separate thing from MGTOW, from incels, from red pill. When I came to realize that the manosphere was all of it, I kind of started seeing that some of these dudes ain't really with what the MGTOW dude's saying, although the label they might get for some of the things they say would fit in with, you know, some of the other crowd. And so, like I say, the manosphere dudes ain't saying that MGTOW shit. Like, I see some benefits of the manosphere if done properly, if done the way they say it should be executed, like fighting for parental rights and things like that for men, stepping in for men, helping men out in situations where they might not know and might make a bad decision in a life judgment, not necessarily in a relationship setting, but in life. If you can have another man's back, sort of like a brotherhood. And so, like, for example, and I hate to say the name, but I mean, it just is what it is. I was talking to O'Shea about it, and O'Shea's understanding of that, and him and Donovan, their understanding of it, I could actually completely relate to. It wasn't nothing about bashing women. They didn't put women underneath men. They didn't make it sound like they were trying to break away from women. Like, it was more so of a brotherhood type of thing. And so there's elements to it that are true. Like you say with the feminist movement, there's elements of it that you can look at and see truth. But the overall part of it, I don't know if it's a full benefit because of, like I told them that night, the people that you have with you are the ones who causing most of the problem. The ones who do hate women, but represent, you know, the manosphere, because the MGTOW is part of the manosphere. So if you're MGTOW, you're manosphere. But again, a lot of us aren't separating MGTOW from manosphere. You know what I'm saying? Because they all sound alike in a lot of instances until you really get down to that individual that says, no, this shit ain't about hating no women. I don't hate women. Then you'll talk to another one that just hates women. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, they all get lumped together. But every one of these MGTOW dudes ain't, you know, I hate black women and black women should die. All of them ain't saying that shit. It's only, you know, it's only some of them that's saying that shit. And so it's hard to even know who's who without talking to them.
I think that, again, I think this is how good guys get sucked in. Because I don't disagree. Like, and anybody who's watched my videos knows, like, I'm not for the Me Too movement. I'm not for women keeping their children away from the fathers. I'm not for imbalance in the court system and things like that. But I think the rhetoric that's being spewed, the feminists spew that men are evil, right? And there's truth to it. A lot of the rhetoric that I hear from the manosphere, and mind you, I go into the manosphere, right? I love the guys over there, but a lot of the rhetoric that I hear coming from there isn't the issue isn't with the system or the problems. The issue is with women in general, and it makes it really hard. Or were you going to say something, Taz?
No, I was just agreeing. That's what I'm saying. Is the louder voice is the one that's representing this shit, and that's the one that's making it sound anti-woman. I agree. The louder voices are the ones that's representing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I actually had to talk to them themselves one-on-one, him and Donovan, and they're like, no, dog, that's not what's up. That's not what we represent. And when I asked them about that louder voice, they was like, you know, fuck, I mean, what can we do about it? Like, them niggas lame, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, they are part of this group too. They don't represent us, but what can we do other than say they're not us? And so, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, but it's like you have to talk to these people individually because the louder voice is negatively representing the entire group. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what I would like to see is I would like to see us working on these issues together, because it makes it really difficult. It makes it really difficult to build, like, as a community, when we're making enemies out of the opposite sex. So a lot of people who come to my channel are from the manosphere, right? So sometimes if I'm speaking on something, they'll go, oh, but women, this and that. And I'll go, see, that's where we have to stop, right? We can agree that something is not right. But we have to work toward this as a unit. And I think that we need to hear those voices a little bit more. And I know there are some of them like in that realm, but I feel like in a community where the women are murdering most of the children, in a community where the men are not marrying the women, in a community where there is an issue with our men, and I'm not saying this to be inflammatory, but it just is what it is, right? Because 90% of sexual predators are men, are sexually molesting the young women and girls in the community at a rate of like 70%. And then there are boys who are being molested by both men and women in the community. We don't have room for any further divisions. Like, we must join together to work on these problems, because if we just make enemies of each other, number one, we're not exhibiting manhood or womanhood, right? Because the inability to cooperate with the other sex it flies in the face of manhood and womanhood, right? As a woman, I can cooperate with men. It's rare that me personally that I have an issue with a man. Normally, the only issues I have with men are when they're hyper emotional. Uh, Most men vibe well with me, but as a man, you should be able to cooperate with a woman, right? So, void of that, we have an issue, and our community is already riddled with enough. So it would be nice if more voices spoke on that tune, where we address the very real problems that we have, but we are addressing them from a unified place, um, for the sake of our nuclear families, for the sake of actually breeding manhood and womanhood in our community. Um, I think it's essential for that. And what I'm seeing right now is actually a degrading of those systems and a nourishment of I can't say the word. Say it for me, Taz. Degradation. Taz. Great. Now he can't say it for me. Y'all know what I'm saying in the chat. You guys know there's like a list of words that I cannot say. I can only hear them in my head. Oh, hi, Nicole. How are you? Nicole, I would send you a link if I knew your email address, but I actually don't know your email address. Oh, QueButter, I did send you a link. It's in your email. It's not a Black issue. Men are not marrying, period. Deep Verma, yes, marriage is down across the board. It's definitely a Black issue, though, because we are marrying the least. Our community is the most affected by the phenomenon. So I would say that it's definitely a Black issue. I would have to say that. It would be different if marriage was down equally across the board, but it's something that's impacting the Black community the most. And also, uh, as Black people, we have to have our eye on that, because while I do believe we're all human beings, like, every community doesn't have the same issues, and every community's business is not mine, right? My business is in the community that I'm a part of. And so that would be the Black community. So that's what I would say. And yeah, QButter, I'm pretty sure I emailed you a link. Let me check. Yes, I did. So, oh, okay, Nicole. So I want to come from a place, and I want to talk now about, like, is there any way that as Black women that we can win, right? Because hearing a Black man say that they don't want Black women who don't have anything because those Black women are just after them for money, like, those Black men are just being used as like an ATM, right? But then also hearing a Black man say they don't want a successful woman because no man wants a woman that's going to be as busy and successful as him. I mean, how is that a winning situation? Like, how can you win in that situation? Hearing Black men say, and I've heard this myself, uh, hearing Black men say, well, our women are whores, right? Black women are whores. But then also hearing Black men say that they don't want to give their non-sexual attention to women who aren't giving them sexual attention. It's like, how can you win, right? If you withhold sex, they're saying we're not gonna want you, we're not gonna give you attention. If you have sex with them, they're gonna call you whores. It's crazy because from where I stand, I would like to think that I'm a pretty reasonable person as a woman, and it makes it difficult to be a woman speaking to other women and saying, we need to be subject to our men. I'm saying this to Black women, but then our men are speaking violently, hatefully toward us. And you guys know that I try to vibe with everybody. I try to pull out the good like that I can in everybody. But it would be great for the voices on the side of our counterparts to speak louder, especially because like y'all are the leaders. You know what I mean? Like our men are literally the leaders of this thing. And my approach is very gentle. I know a lot of people take issue with Cynthia G, but all I hear her saying is like she's asking for that leadership. And that's why I said, can you be a king without a kingdom? Like, if you're not willing to lead and be that example, I can be a mother because I gave birth, right? But that doesn't make me a parent if I'm not doing the work. So I have to do that parenting work. I don't know if you guys follow me in this. Oh, hi, Cynthia. I never know when you're in here. That's strange. I was just talking about you. I talked you up. That's so funny. Hold on. I'm about to make you a moderator so I don't have to try to find you. I think you were here the other day and I didn't see you because I could not see you. Let me see if I can go to my own control room. Black gender relations will be restored, but a lot of people are going to die before that happens. Really? Why are you so morbid? Don't be morbid. Oh, I did conjure you up then. That's so funny. Black men are under attack. Black women have to do the best they can with what they have if you want a Black family. Black men also don't want women who do have things. Yeah, that's true, Nicole. I'll pull you in on this conversation, Nicole. Oh, wait, what just happened? Y'all, I'm doing something. Okay. As men, we are supposed to lead. Yeah, but you know what, Johnny? That message has to get out further. Like, more men have to believe that. Because I feel like, and I feel like this is really damaging too, right? So if my kids come to me and they're like, what's for dinner, Mom? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to have for dinner? Like, da 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 da. Like, if I won't make the if I won't lead, then they're kind of lost. And I feel like it's kind of cringeworthy to me when men are asking for female leadership. Like, that is a little bit cringeworthy to me. And see, it's hard, right? Because you want to tread lightly, because I don't want to step on the toes of men, because Angel said something in a live that I was listening to of his. He said, I'm sensitive, like Venus flytrap sensitive. Do you know what I mean? Not like whiny girly sensitive, but I thought like the term Venus flytrap sensitive, I think that describes men. Like, they're quick to snap because they're very sensitive to how you handle them, which is understandable, right? Because when you're in a position where respect is something that is a command, it can be very touchy and dicey to disrespect them. But at the same time, it becomes cringeworthy for me when the leadership is not there. It's very hard for me to be in the feminine when I'm dealing with a man who lacks qualities that I respect as a, as a man. So if I am like that, and I would like to think that I'm relatively submissive for a woman, relatively acquiescent for a woman, then imagine women who aren't like me, women who are a little bit more dominant. Imagine their reaction. It's cringeworthy to me. It's off-putting to me. Imagine what it's like to women who are even stronger characters than I. Do you know what I mean? And I think like men have to look at that. Oh, wow. Hi, Cynthia. I didn't see you come in.
Hey, this is a very good topic. Hey, Taz. No, this is a very good topic to have, actually. Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming up.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's cringeworthy to me when men ask for women to lead. Because, I mean, I'm definitely, a lot of people don't, probably would be surprised, but I'm actually traditional. I don't think that women should be playing the dominant role in the home. I think the men should be. I think the men should be the head, and then we can make it a partnership, but ultimately he's the head. And so you're right. When all I'm usually asking for is men to be the leaders, and I agree that I don't have a soft approach. Like, I wish I could have your approach to it. I really do. Especially, like when you sent me the email, and I was thinking about when you said when Angel came up and he explained it in a better way to where the other guy could get it. It just really made me think about, okay, maybe I do need to reevaluate the way that I put out, my message, and see if reframing it, using a little bit more work. But ultimately, I do just really want male leadership. I admire it. I like it. It's attractive. I like dominant men. So to me, it's nearly repulsive to me to hear men asking women to take the lead. It's repulsive to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're not owed a man. Okay, Deep Firma, like, you vibe so negatively, but like, I'll deal with this. Nobody's owed anything. Women aren't owed men, and men aren't owed women. So that's just silly, right? We understand that nobody's owed anything. I'll say this to you. I feel like every message is not for every person. So if you're not on the bandwagon of making things work, or I can't tell if you're male or female, I'm thinking you're a man. If it doesn't resonate with you, like, that's fine. You don't have to participate. See, I'm not into conversion, but I'm also not into having silly conversations about things that are obvious, right? That part I'm not going to do. I think when you make a useless comment, it can be problematic. Nicole, I don't know about leading together. I think you can have a pilot and you can have a co-pilot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody has to actually be the ultimate one in charge. And I think women, as women, we become so independent that we can't see that, or men try to lead, but they don't see, like men who do attempt to lead, right? More out of a sense of, I want a woman to be submissive to me than anything. We can't be acquiescent to them, because a woman can smell somebody who is beta and not really a leader. And it's a very dangerous thing to be in submission to somebody who's not truly a leader. And so a lot of men, I think, confuse the fact that they haven't just made it there yet with that women aren't willing to be submissive. No, it's just that you have to be careful who you give that submission to. So we just, just work harder, just refine that. It's nothing negative. You wouldn't want a woman that would fall behind just any fool anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, that woman would be a dangerous woman anyway. I think you ladies, Niley included, are just passionate about, unfortunately, what some cannot handle, called truth. That's possible, KJ. Smells a beta, yeah. But see, I get scared using those terms because a lot of men get offended. A lot of men get offended when you use that kind of language. They don't like it. When a man has his self right, women automatically fall in line. That's so true. That's so true. Hi, QueButter. Women will fall in line. Hey, wouldn't you say that's your experience? I mean, I know that's mine as a woman. I know men I can push buttons with. I know men I can get away with stuff with. And I know the men I can't, and I don't try it. Do you know what I mean? I just don't, because I know it's not going to be tolerated. So I don't make the attempt. So I agree that, yeah, women can tell. Snowman, submission is supposed to be to your husband, not your man or boyfriend. Snowman, I think submission has there's levels to this, right? I think, for example, like that pregnant chick that the guy came up to defend, that wasn't her man or her boyfriend, right? But it was proper for her in that situation to fall back and be in a submissive position. Okay. I think that, and I've had this happen to me. A man might say, Irene, why don't you go get that from the other side of the room, or something like that. And I'll listen to him. Or I've had a man speak to a group of us, like, y'all, you guys move a little closer to the mic, or, and we all will listen. Because at the end of the day, there's just a level of submission, just like there's a level of respect we want from men as women. When I approach a door, if a man is there, even if he's not my man, it's my expectation he will open it. But that's not my man. But see, there's a level of behavior I just expect because I'm a man and he is a woman. And submission works the same way. The same depth of submission is not uniform, but there's just proper order in this thing, period. QueButter told me the other night, he was like, Irene, don't even bother, right? And I had to take a moment, like I said what I had to say, but I also took a moment to also listen to him as a man and what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? Not because he's my man, but because, again, there's levels to this, right? So we're not going to be full on submission to a stranger or anything like that. We're not going to be full on submission to our boyfriends like we are our husbands. We're not, but there's levels to this, just like there's levels to respect. There's a way that my man respects all women, and then there's a deeper level of respect I get as his wife. And I think that's just realistic if we really think about it.
You know what I think is interesting when someone says that, just the notion of, oh, you're not old a man. Okay, well, we're not, obviously we're not old individual men, but why are we ignoring the fact that men were made for women and women were made for men? I mean, and I get that some people, you know, obviously this is a statement that's exempt for the LGBTQ community who don't really believe in gender, but I believe that men were made for women. So while we're not old individual men, it is our natural place in society to have men and for men to have women. That's how you sustain humanity. Um, but I do agree with the levels to submission. I don't think that submitting to someone who doesn't know how to be a leader or who is a beta male, I don't think that that's effective. I think that you should be, if you find a man that's worthy of your submission and he's showing that he's living up to what a man should be doing, he can provide, he can protect, he's not disrespectful, you know, he's helping you to grow as a person, he's growing as a person because of you, then I think that you should then you should submit to it. And I think it's interesting that some women, they have such a strong reaction to the word submission, because when I made a video talking about why I would submit to a man, I would have no problem submitting to him if he's the right man, there was a lot of women in the comment section who had an issue with it, as though my level of submission somehow influenced them. And it's like, if I want to submit, I can submit. And if I feel like there's a man that's worthy of submission, then why wouldn't I want to rest easy and let him handle things? Like, there is comfort in being able to submit to a man that's worthy of it. But I think a lot of women, they look at submission and subjugation as the same. And maybe it's because a lot of, men, they do tend to talk about submission as if it's subjugation. But I think it's a good thing if you find the right man to submit. There's comfort in it. Why not let him handle things and take stuff off of your plate if you don't have to, so that you're not bogged down and stressed about certain things? Like, I wouldn't have an issue with it at all. But I will say a woman shouldn't. It would be a mistake to submit to just any man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Sean Stone asked, Irene, can a man lead if he's socially awkward or quiet? Yes, I mean, loudness is not leadership. My man he's not socially awkward, but he's a quiet dude. Do you know what I mean? When he speaks, what he has to say is profound, but he doesn't have a lot to say. I think it is how you carry yourself. I think a lot of times men feel like bravado, loudness, being a jerk, like that is somehow masculine or leadership. And the reality is that is nothing, it's not like that at all. So yeah, you could be socially awkward, you could be quiet, but you have to be masculine. You know what I mean? If a woman, kind of like Cynthia was just saying, cannot rest in her feminine with you, that is a problem. Right? The problem is not how much you choose to speak, or, if you're conformist to what I would argue is a sick society anyway. Do you know what I mean? Why would you want to be socially comfortable in such a twisted environment? I think that would be more a problem than anything. Minister G said, I hold back a lot of my chivalry, sorry, another word I can't say, because I try not to offend feminist-minded women. Minister G, I wouldn't pander to feminist-minded women. Like, why should you adjust your behavior because of their malfunctioning brains? That part I don't understand.
I would just completely ignore feminist-minded women if I was any sane-minded, dominant male who was deserving of submission. I would just steer clear of any feminist-minded woman. I wouldn't even have sex with them, really. Not even as a hit or quit. I wouldn't deal with them in any capacity.
Yeah, I just don't see that. I wouldn't conform my behavior to what they're doing, because that just encourages their behavior. Jaquan,
real quick,
what did you say, QueButter?
I was gonna say too, like, feminists don't get along with men who act like men anyway, so they're not gonna, you know what I mean? It's just what it is. Like, I'm not letting you carry no bags, you know what I mean? Like, You can't stand in the front. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna hold this up myself. You know, so they already have a vibe to it, and especially when you're, I guess, like chivalrous in yourself first. So to me, I accept the misogynistic aspects of being a chivalrous person. So you have to like give up your seat. You have to enter first. You have to stand on the side of violence. You have to fight first. You know, you have to pay first. You know, some of these things that we forget, and it's a double standard for a reason, because that's the way a man submits to a woman. You know what I mean? By saying that you're going to do these things and you're submitting to being the form of defense, you're submitting to being the head of the home. Even if you don't make as much money, you're going to find ways to do what you got to do to take care of the home. And I think, you know, that should just be lined up around that.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. Let's see.
I agree too, QButter. The thing of it is just the whole feminist mindset really irks me. I won't even have friends that identify themselves as a feminist, because I think the mindset is really convoluted, and it doesn't, like, I like to be around people who share the same mindset as me, specifically on, you know, whether they agree with feminism or not, because if they do, chances are we're going to be arguing all the time. I don't like it. I feel like it's counterproductive. It does absolutely nothing for the Black community except seek to divide it further. So I just look at feminists as having a disease mentality. Like, but then at the same time, ultimately, the men who are asking women to lead, are they not feminists too? The men who are comparing themselves to women, basically saying, I'm on equal footing as you, are they not feminists as well? Because they're kind of feminists too. Because isn't the premise of feminism saying that the woman is equal to the man? So ultimately, if you are a man who are comparing yourself to a woman, then you yourself is a feminist.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I completely agree with that. I really do. I find sometimes the rhetoric of some men is so in line with the feminist mindset. I don't even think they realize how in line they are with the feminist mindset. But then at the same time, they'll have a problem with the behavior that comes with that sort of rhetoric. I want to point out two comments that kind of run hand in hand. Jaquan Walker said, why is it that the Black woman is so quick to go against the Black man, but immediately submits themselves to white supremacy? And the kind of sister comment to that on the same subject was Cookie Primrose's comment. And she said the discomfort in the word submission is because the practice of submission underneath white supremacy resulted in oppression. And this is the definition most common to most. So I want to address both of those things, and then Cynthia and QueButter and Taz, if y'all want to, you can too. Jaquan, why is it that the Black woman is so quick to go against the Black man, but immediately submits themselves to white supremacy? Let's just be clear about something. If our men are not in a position to resist white supremacy, why would you start speaking on what the women are doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you as a man can't stand against white supremacy, then why would the expectation be that a woman who is not a man, who is not in a position to lead, who's not as strong, who can only put up so much of a fight, would be in a position to do what our men collectively can't do? I think it's kind of like an unfair question. And I want to say too that Black women are not immediately set to go against Black men. I don't think that that's even a true statement at all. But even if it were a true statement, I would turn that around to say that statement would only be valid if our men were pushing back aggressively against white supremacy and the women were not following suit. Since that's not the case, I don't feel that your question is a valid question. And Cookie Primrose, as far as the discomfort in the word submission because of the practice of submission underneath white supremacy resulted in the oppression, this is the definition that most, thinking that that definition is why women have an aversion to it. I hear what you're saying, Cookie, and it could even be the case for you. But honestly, I think the problem with the word submission is that a lot of our women have bought into the white feminist agenda and cause, this liberation type thought. And so submission sounds like a weakened place to them based on the propaganda of white women and the movement that they've made, where doing things that are traditionally considered submissive are destructive to them. And this is funny to me because they keep their homes intact. They're not killing all their kids and they get married. But their feminist agenda speaks against all that, but know that they do that anyway. Do you know what I mean? They do that anyway. And it's a little bit hypocritical. I even think that when we look at some Black celebrities, I'm not really pro celebrity, so I'll use Beyonce as an example. Here's a woman who is married, for all intensive purposes, submissive to her husband, right? With 3 kids, pushing the feminist agenda, which is that women shouldn't have children because that's oppressive, which is that women are more than just objects to be married to men because that's oppressive. Do you know what I mean? The feminist agenda pushes anti that, but feminists engage in all of those activities, mostly the white women, but it's our Black women who are internalizing that and then acting on it, not wanting their babies and killing them, not getting married, not taking a submissive stance, not looking at our children as an asset. It's strange, right? Spearheaded by white women, but white women are getting married, keeping their children, and have strong nuclear families. But the Black women, I feel we've internalized it and we're self-destructing under our following of their agenda. That's my opinion on those 2 things, at least.
So I definitely agree with the way that you answered the first question. I would only add to that I definitely don't think it's a equal or fair or valid question because number one, Black men don't possess the institutional power that white men do. If a Black woman wants a job, 9 times out of 10, she's getting employed by either a white man or a white woman. When she needs to apply for a loan or any type of anything that involves money, 9 times out of 10, she's going to a white man to get that. So ultimately, she cannot rely on Black men to provide for her what a white man can. Now, that's not to say there isn't the exceptional, wealthy Black man who is providing things in society for her. But ultimately, if the white power structure chooses to deem that man irrelevant from her home, there is nothing that he can do about it. So ultimately, if the man is being subjugated by the same system as the woman, why are you then complaining that she's submitting to the same person that you're submitting to? You are both submitting. So that's not a valid, it's just not a valid comparison. In order for it to be a valid comparison, you would have to have, like Irene said, Black men pushing against white supremacy and Black women going on the side of it, which is not happening. Or you would have to have equal power structures where Black men possess the same societal and institutional power of white men, and then Black women are choosing to side with white men despite that. And that's not really happening. As far as the second question, submission is tied to trust and comfort. And so if you don't trust the person who's asking for the submission, you're not going to be able to submit to that person. So I think that by and large, Black women don't trust Black men's ability to lead, to be effective leaders. And so therefore, that's where a lot of the pushback is coming from their submission. And I also think it's also what Irene said as well, buying into the notion of feminism, where, thinking that white women are your allies and thinking that what works for white women and white men somehow works for you as a Black woman with a white man. with a black man, and it doesn't. It's like you are in a complete different situation. So when you choose to have a mindset or take on and engage in a movement that white women are doing, it's only going to have the adverse effects towards your group. That's the only thing that's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I was gonna say on this, I got up there submission, the active fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. To me, you know, a relationship requires both people to be submissive. That's just what it is. Like if you're a guy with a woman in 2018, especially, and you're not submissive to her will or authority, and it doesn't mean that it's all the time. It's a two-way street. You're just not open to communication. You're not listening to what she may say. You're not listening to things that she's asking. You know, people's will is something that they want, and in a relationship, you have two people who are respecting the wants of both people, and you have to be submissive in it. I don't know how you couldn't. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be times as a man, the woman's going to ask you for things that you don't want to do, and you're going to do it because you're submissive to her, and that's just what it is. You know, and I think sometimes we look at it in a television sense when it's just like, no, you're meeting the demands of somebody because you love them, because you respect them, and so they're able to ask you to do things that nobody else can ask you to do. You'll meet me over here right now. You'll come over here right now. When you really think about it, how many demands women make of a man and vice versa, it wouldn't work without the idea of being submissive to the person. And then aligning it with white supremacy, I kind of like think the word submission and a lot of words just got bad reps. Evolution, you know, some words are just trigger words, and when you say them, they just bring up a whole line of thought, and a lot of times it doesn't even have anything to do with the actual word. And so when you hear submission, it's like you can't be in a relationship without submission.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true. And I think it's important, and I always try to just remind people of this, that in every relationship, not just romantic relationships between Black men and Black women, there's a dominant and a submissive party without fail. In your work arena, in your casual interactions, in conversation, a party is always dominant and a party is always submissive. So even though we move in this every day, when it comes to male-female relationships, we want to act like the rules are somehow different, and they're just not different. And we also need to stop making adversaries out of each other, because if we don't work together, we're not going to do this. And it's okay to demand of the other person that they play their role and to have that expectation, right? So I have the expectation that my man is going to be a leader in my household. I have an expectation that when certain things need to be done, that he's the one that's going to be addressing those. And he hasn't both. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Taz, were you about to say something? Okay.
Nah, hell no. I was listening, but I say something if you need me to. I'll run my mouth, but I was just listening. What's
Taz,
up?
did you get burned out from being so argumentative last night?
Hell no, I'm ready to argue now. What's up?
Of course you are. Of course you are. I just was checking to see if maybe you kind of experienced a little burnout, but it sounds like you're rejuvenated and ready for the next battle. Can we address this comment really quickly by Deep Verma, who set up here, and I think he deleted the message, but it said something to the effect of men will just go elsewhere. Men carry the seed and the identity, and so therefore they're gonna live on forever. I'm gonna need some of y'all to learn biology. Men do not possess a seed; they possess a fertilizer. Women carry the seed. And what men do is men fertilize the seed, and then the seed grows in the woman's body until it's a full-term baby, and then she gives birth to it. And when that process happens, the woman passes on more of her gene, i.e. her biological identity, than the man does. So if y'all could get out of religion and get into biology, that would be great.
Yeah, I just blocked Deep Verma because I was allowing his comments. Please don't pick up that chess set. It's solid marble. Let's not move it. My daughter's like over there trying to pick up a marble chess set with all the pieces on it. So I just deleted Deep Verma because I felt like he made one comment. I was tolerating his comments and I just started ignoring them because they were all super negative. But then he made one comment and I was just like over it. The thing is, like, y'all know that I don't care if we agree. I don't care what your stance is. Like, I'm cool. But I think that if like your sole purpose is just to be disruptive and unproductive and just bring up random stuff just to stir controversy and negativity, like I'm not about to vibe that way with you. You know, like I'm not going to tolerate coming into a productive space and trying to start crap because you guys are mad that there's no shit going on here. Like sometimes it's okay to just chill out and just hear what people are saying and just to lend your voice to the conversation without the shenanigans. And Deep Verma, I know you can hear me, but since you couldn't get that, that's why I had to remove you. And y'all know I don't do that often, but I just didn't have time for it. Because it's like, if you can't say, if everything you have to say is just contradictory and negative, and you were getting like increasingly more so, I just kind of got over the whole situation because I peeped what you were here for, and it's simply not welcome.
Good, because he was getting on my nerves. He was really just a trolling, like, and it's like, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna dead the issue. A seed doesn't fertilize. That is not the function of a seed. So I want to know how men are running around with these sperm seeds that are fertilizing eggs. That's what I want to know, because seeds don't fertilize. They get fertilized. It's like I can't with some people. Sorry, let me put myself on mute and go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And somebody just called the egg soil. They said the woman's egg is soil. This is what y'all doing in the chat room, really? So the woman's egg is soil. Have you ever heard that, Irene? Because you have kids.
No, I've actually heard that. But I don't know. I think it's like a silly argument. I feel like y'all, we're not in competition with each other. Like, men and women are so different. We don't have to debate over things like this. Do you know what I mean? Let's just agree on this. Let's agree on this. Okay. Let's agree that children and the creation thereof require an egg and sperm because we are made for each other. And that's like the theme of the day is like, we are made for each other, you guys. We're designed for each other. And because we're designed for each other, our biology goes hand in hand, our roles in life go hand in hand, and you guys want to turn everything into a competition, and like it's just not that serious. It just really isn't. All right, we both contribute to the creation of our children. It's fine. We both contribute to the progression of our people. It's fine. Like everything is not tit for tat. Everything is not a competition. Everything is not a comparison. All right, you can't compare men to women. We're not the same. You can't compare our roles. We're not the same. Everything is not a battle, and everything doesn't require a debate. You know, you guys want to get caught up in a lot of petty stuff, and like there's just no time for it. There's just not. Like, you either want to be petty and make an issue out of every little minute thing, or you want to grow up. You know, we're not like fighting lovers and every time I leave the salt shaker out, you're going to scream and throw a tantrum. Like, some things don't require your attention. You cannot give every issue equal attention.
Right. That's the thing. It's like I don't know why we have to keep engaging in this competition that's not even backed by any biological fact. Because if you study women genetics and compare it to men's, there really is no comparison. That's why I say these people need to get into an actual science and biology book. There is absolutely no comparison, and that's not anything on any feminism or me being a woman. It's because I've studied biology. So I know that there's no comparison in male biology, even with genetics. There's no comparison. We even have biological components that you don't have. Like we have mitochondrial DNA that you don't have. So therefore, we're passing on more of ourselves to our children than you are. And that is just a biological fact. And even soil have to be fertilized. So again, even if the egg was the soil, you still have the fertilizer, not the seed.
Let's see. Oh, thank you so much.
I think some of these terms people get a little too caught up with. Now, I'm gonna say I was definitely one of that. I'm gonna blame religion for a lot of the overtones and undertones that some of these words that we imply into our relationship, even marriage. You know what I mean? Like I'm atheist. I really don't give a fuck about marriage. You know, I care about the businesses and the interactions that I have with my queen and my children, and making sure that I do the things that I have to for them on paper. You know, but the concept of marriage to me isn't like I don't see anything as, you know, sancted or sanctified, anything like that. And when we look at how a lot of us look at things like through white people's, you know, cultural eye, it impedes on us a lot. You know what I mean? Like how men are supposed to act, how women are supposed to act, even in the concept of leading. You know what I mean? Like somebody was in there saying that, you know, men are supposed to lead. I'm like, sometimes, they're not all the time. Depends on how much you know and what you do. If a woman knows more than you in certain things, and a lot of times in finance, women know more about finances. My pop's been running the home, but my mother runs the finances. And to the point now where she runs everything. He just gets the money, goes to his account, but she runs the bank account. She runs all of that, what they buy. And that's just what it is, you know what I mean? And that's happened over time because of maturity and discipline and our understanding of finances. I just had a baby. I don't lead the way with my baby. She leads the way with the baby. You know, I have my input, but when they get older into the education and I could get to the like 5, 6 years old, that's when I take the lead. But I'm submissive to her, what she says, and I put my 2 cents in. But that's ultimately, you know, her position. And being open to what people's opinions and understanding. If you're dating somebody, that's cool. If you're dating somebody, what's up, Queen? If you're dating somebody, what's up? You should be willing to listen to them. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't be dating somebody who's an airhead. You know, again, it's 2018. Brothers, our sisters are extremely smart, detail-oriented, focused, and you can take and I always say this, you can take a sister from the bottom that's in the back of the project struggling, and she's still typically more organized than a dude in the back of the project struggling. You know what I mean? She'll have her Section 8 paperwork, or she'll have her government paperwork. She'll know when to go to her meetings. She'll make sure she's holding down the kids. You know, there's times when the brothers are more on point, but typically it's the females that are. And for me, I learned to look at that and say, let's not shun away from it. Let's take advantage of the strong points we have and then the weak points we have. And then develop on the weak things that we have and make that something that's there. Even down to defending yourself, you know, it may be just you and your queen. So yeah, you may be the head of the household, but it's just as important that your woman knows how to use a gun, that she knows how to throw a punch, that she can defend herself. Because if it goes down to it, it's you too that are protecting the children.
The revolutionary, I don't know, and I agree with what you said, QueButter. The revolutionary, I don't know what you mean. I mean, I understand the scripture that you use, but let me just be clear. We were actually talking about this on QueButter's channel this morning. People we really have to work together. Like, we can be unified in our cause for Black people, and we don't need to be conformist in our nature to everybody. It's simply not necessary. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to agree on every single point. We don't have to expect everybody to conform to every ideology that we have. We need to be unified on the subject of when it's time to move for our people, then we move, and we move as a group. And if that is what people agree on, I'm good with it. Like, that's my personal standard. And everybody can have a different one. But like, I'm not with the line drawing, y'all. And revolutionary, like, I like you, but I'm not with the line drawing. Like, we can't do it. We can't draw lines in the sand because, while we're busy drawing lines in the sand, the status quo, they're not worried about that.
Right. And it sounds ignorant, revolutionary, to sit and try to tell someone, and I think it was you who said that, tell someone they're lost because they're quoting biology and you're quoting religion. Because just like QueButter said, you being the seed of your father is a religious concept. That's why I said it's not backed by any biology. Actually, biology says it's the exact opposite. So, that's a form of division, which is what Irene is talking about, trying to shame people and put negative adjectives on them and try to say that there's something wrong with them because they don't believe what you believe. What you believe is religion. I'm talking about biology, and it's fine if you want to believe a religious concept. That's fine. I don't have any problem with whatever anybody want to believe. However, there are some things that are rooted in fact and some things that are not. And you calling someone lost because they're speaking about something that is biologically factual versus your religious concept that's only backed by your religious concept only makes you look ignorant.
Yeah, I just think, okay, so revolutionary, let the morality start here. Let the morality start that we're unified in this one discussion about having our families intact and about having proper male and female hierarchy. And we've all agreed on what that looks like. Often we want to focus on the differences, but here's the thing. Like, your voice is totally welcome. Like, it is. It really is. And I appreciate your comments. But I also feel like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. QButter was saying the other night, like, we can't make people do the work. They're either going to do the work or not, and we just have to be accepting of those who just refuse to do the work. So if what you're saying is that if a person won't conform to your mindset, right, that you can't do the work with them, then that's fine. But I am saying that my standard is, I know what I believe on a spiritual level, and I know what I want to do for my community. And that requires working with the people in my community. And I'm not willing, me personally, to exclude people from doing the work and working alongside people who share the desire to see our community bettered simply because they won't conform to my ideology. Like, that part, I'm not willing to do. But see, you get to make your own choice, right? Like, everybody gets to make their own choice, and it's fine.
Hey, can I answer that though? What empire was built on people disagreeing on moral principles? Name one. You're living in one. We're living in one. The Boston Tea Party happened based on moral principles. You know what I mean? Taxation without representation is a moral principle.
Okay, yeah. That's true.
Yes, I'm
We
just
could
wondering that. I mean, he said name one, as if that's like such a.
To go further with that, all 50 states have different constitutions.
Yeah, that's true. And I would argue, if we're going there, that here in the Western world, the entire Western world has been built around people who have a set of principles different than almost every place that they've conquered. But the Western world is currently the most pervasive and the strongest empire. And I call it an empire because it's all coming from Europe, right? Of our modern time, because they're unified in their whiteness, right? They're unified in conquering a non-white people. They have each other's backs just based on that. Why can't we do the same? Like, what is the problem with doing the same? How much more productive is it? You know what I'm saying? For the Hebrew Israelites to go off into their little corner, the Muslims to go off into their little corner, the Black Muslims to go off into their little corner, the atheists to go to their corner. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how much more productive is that? So what are we gonna do then? If we all break off into these mini sects, is your mini sect gonna do the work?
Right, because you had, when we were talking about submission, there were men in here, a couple of them saying, well, if they don't want to submit, then we'll just go elsewhere. Well, even if you go to other races of women, you're still going to have to submit, especially if you're going to a white woman, because that white woman is going to be the dominant one in the situation. And the reason she's dominant is because her man, the white man, is dominant over you. So you may be giving the illusion of being dominant, but you're not dominant, because anything that you do, if she doesn't like it, all she has to say is the word, and that system that is ran by white men is going to crash down on you like a ton of bricks. So you can sit there and try to go outside and try to seek a woman to dominate, but ultimately you're just going to get dominated.
Yeah. Nicole, you said there's one constitution. That's true, but the constitution isn't reflective of the desires of all the people. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's all that anybody is trying to say, is that we all do have a different sets for morality and things like that. Yes, we have a unified constitution, but all the individuals under this reign aren't in agreement. And we know this because this would be the first society to have engaged in that sort of dynamic. We looked at that, if we use South Africa as an example, right? They had a set of rules and regulations and leadership, and it went on good for the ruling class for a period of time. But not everybody agreed with that set of morality, right? So in the same way, in this movement we're trying to make as Black people, the overarching ruling thought needs to be our Blackness and the strengthening, protection, and progression of that. And this is the place where you're either going to get with it or you're not going to get with it. See, that'll be the deal breaker, right? If you're not willing to get with it, that's the deal breaker, at least for me.
So just so they see real quick, state constitutions, each state in the United States has its own constitution. You know, many of the things might be the same, stated the same way, but each state has their own constitution instead of, you know, laws and, or, you know, and policies that make their states, you know, what it is. Some, you know, so the compulsory age, the age in which you know, for just that alone, the compulsory age is not agreed upon around the country. You know, when people can drive, it's totally different in each state. Some states you can drive at 14. Some states they don't even care when you can drive certain things. Sex is another thing. You know, the state laws for the age for sex, and a lot of times we're talking about the federal one, but you know, just to go down that line, you know, it's definitely, you know, not all the same laws.
I want to say too that we commonly say the United States, but it's really these United States, right? And each state is supposed to operate as sovereign, like technically speaking. I know that's not how it's overarchingly done, but like that's the original setup. And we
It really is done like that, though. If you think about it in a certain context, like let's say, for example, that weed. You know what I'm saying? Like for that weed to be legal in one state, but niggas still going to jail for it in another, is an example of each state exhibiting their sovereignty.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That's definitely the truth. Nicole said, "What does the Black person do when other Black people won't accept them because they've been with another race?" Um, well, I'll take that first. I'll say that, I mean, you can't make anybody accept you, right? Like people are going to feel the way they're going to feel. They're going to make the choices that they want to make. And I personally feel like people should be entitled to do that, right? It's about the collective action of the thing to me. So individuals can make their individual choices, but the collective action is ultimately what counts. We don't all have to like each other, agree, or get along. Like it is what it is. You know what I mean? I could despise you. I could despise you, but then if it comes down to our struggle, unify with you under that. Like I said, the only hard thing, like limit for me, like the only people I'm completely and totally unwilling to work with are going to be gay people. Like that part I can't do. But outside of them, like we could agree to disagree as long as you're going to do the work.
And who doesn't accept Black people who have been in a relationship with different races? Like Black people are very accepting of interracial relationships by and large. My question is, why is it okay for you guys to enter into a relationship with another race of people who are not accepting you as a Black person, and it's requiring that you suppress your Blackness in order for you to be around them? That's my question.
Yeah. Sir, I cannot. Kuko Jin. Is that how you pronounce that? Why do you guys have such complicated names, y'all? If you scroll, then are you really for Black? Think about that for a second. This is what I think. And I've answered this question before. I feel like this comes up in a lot of panels that I'm on. And so a lot of people already know where I stand on this. I think for me, you have to do more than have sex with another Black person to be for Black people. I'm gonna need to see some work that you're doing. I'm gonna need to see some action on your part. I'm gonna need to vet your whole character. Like, I'm gonna need to do all those things, me personally. It's not gonna be good enough that you just had sex with another Black person. Like, that's not gonna be good enough. I can think of somebody right now who has sex with Black women, and isn't much for the cause. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. That's what I would have to say about that.
Yeah, if you step up on a pedestal and you screaming Black Power, you know what I mean? Like, it's 2018. I think it's in your interest to have a Black queen. If you're a Black man, or if you're a Black woman, have a Black man. But we also have to understand some people just got into the mix, and yeah, you see, it's hard. You gotta meet some people where they at. You know what I mean? And so let the work that they're doing be the tool that you use to set them apart. Because I wouldn't tell nobody, like, if you've been dating some white woman all these years and now you suddenly starting to wake up and you see all this stuff, but you've been in love with that cracker all them years, like, I wouldn't tell you to stop loving that cracker. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is dishonorable. You know what I mean? Like, if you just, if you have a genuine love for each other and then you genuinely wake up and that's just that's the boat you in, you know, and you got to figure that out. But don't come over here because of that, you know what I mean? Like, come over here because you broke up for whatever reasons you have. But now, if you're on the bandwagon of talking about what Black power is, telling Black people what they need to do, your boots need to be aligned with your speech. And for me, I need to see a Black woman next to you. I need to see a Black man next to you, right? If not, you know, I'm going to question it. And then, like Irene said, I'm going to look. The only thing else I can look at is your work. So if you're standing up there talking all this stuff and you got a Spanish or, you know, whatever person next to you, I got to look at your work and see, like, that I don't see no work and you up there talking, then I'm really be judgmental of you.
I find this really interesting, just the flow of the conversation, right? Because I noticed that throughout the conversation, the message is unify, 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 right? And then it's like, well, Black men and Black women. What about this division? What about that division? Well, what if this person is this religion? What about that division? What about this division? Well, what if this person won't conform to my ideology? I find it interesting that there are so many people who are provocateurs, because this conversation has been going on for almost 2 hours and there have been provocateurs the whole way. And you guys find a line to draw and you try to draw that line. And when nobody bites, you're like, okay, let me move to the next line. You have to question what's in your spirit to want to sow division. Do you know what I mean? And know that, like, eyes are on you. Eyes are on you while you draw all these lines and try to sow division. Like, your name is being marked, your rhetoric is being marked. Like, nobody's going to forget, like, this is how this person moves. We need to be able to trust each other to stay unified. Provocateurs don't have a place in forward motion. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I said, like, you're either doing this or you're not doing this. And that needs to be the decision that people need to make. Are you doing it or are you not doing it? Because if the only thing you want to do is draw lines and cause division, then to me, that speaks about not being for the cause. Do you know what I mean? You want to draw a division between Black men and Black women. You want to draw a division based on religion. You know what I mean? Like, you want to draw a division based on everything. Well, then I feel like you're trying to sabotage. And that's not directed at any one of you in particular. I'm just saying, I'm noticing that in this 2 hours, people have found reasons and ways to draw new lines. And every time the bait's not taken, they're like, oh, let me try to draw a new line. But see, like, eyes are on you. So that's not going to slide by. All the line drawing, all the provocations, not going to slide under the radar. And so I just want to put that out there, because one thing I have a low tolerance for, like me personally, is trying to destroy forward motion. Like, if I'm about working with our people to see this thing work and to see us progress and get better, and I peep that you're about trying to throw roadblocks in the way of that progress, there's a problem, right? Because then you're working against the cause. And see, that's a deal breaker. If we want to talk about deal breakers, that's the deal breaker. Thank you so much, Simon. Simon said, why are you willingly staying in a system that you believe is oppressing you? Simon was my guest from yesterday. I'll answer that question first. Why am I willingly staying in a system? I'm not willingly doing anything. That's why I do my series on cognitive liberation. That's why I do my series on social revolution. That's why I spend my time circulating around, talking to people here in the virtual realm. That's why I work on employing Black people in the businesses that my family has. That's why I work on trying to put together curriculums and thinking how we can best teach our children. That's why I married a man who loves and is passionate about our people and does mentoring and the opening of schools. and things like that, and focuses on Black men and works with psychotherapists and things like that to heal a lot of the mental wounds in our community. So I'm not willingly doing anything, but I'm also one person. And so the purpose is to meet and link with like-minded people so that we can build a unit strong enough to move forward in a way that has voice. So that would be my answer.
That's a dumb question anyway, because you don't get to just get up and move and establish citizenship in a different country just like that because you don't like one country. That's not how things work. There's actually something called border patrols, citizenship that have to be established, and it takes time and it takes money. You don't just get to go say, oh, well, I don't like America, so let me just go move somewhere else. That's not how that works. Yes, you can move out of country, but it's definitely a process, and everywhere is being oppressed. Black people are being oppressed globally. So I'm trying to figure out where you think a Black person would be going in order to escape oppression.
Yeah, I don't know. Simone, you can comment on it. What about you, QueButter? Why are you hanging out in a system of white supremacy if you believe it's, or why are you engaging in this system if you believe it's oppressing you?
I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like first chance I get, I'm gonna establish, you know, my organization and business and movements worldwide. You know, Caribbean, Africa. You know, that's my goals. You know, so I his opportunity. I would ask him like, you know, what does he have established? You know, you once you present the problem or an idea, I want to hear what you have going forth for it. Like, do you have discounts with the airports? Do you have discount flights or something like that so that people from America can get over there? Are you connected with the embassy? Are you helping getting these visas out? Are you what do you got going in your country to help us get over there? And what are you doing actively to create these type of established, you know, these type of relationships and a platform for people, Black Americans, that come back to, I don't know what country he's in, and I'm assuming in Africa, to do this work? Or is he just saying it as like, oh, why are you over there in America? You should be coming back here. You should be, you know, you should be doing this thing. Like, if you're going to speak like that, then that just comes from a very ignorant place, you know, and that's just not realistic.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there, like, it's not like leaving a house either. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, I don't like your rules at this house, so I just walk to the front door and I walk out. It's not like leaving a country, right? Where you leave the house and you have to go down the street, then you have to get your passport, then you have to get on an airplane. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a process. So it's kind of like watching me walk to the store and you're like, well, if you're hungry, why don't you go to the store? And I'm like, don't you see me walking toward the store right now? I'm walking toward not engaging in this system. I'm walking toward not being in this system. I'm walking toward that. It's not as simple as taking a 2-inch step to the left and then not partaking. You know, if only it were that easy, but that's not realistic. So I think sometimes it's like, if you want to give birth to your baby, why isn't it out of your vagina yet? Because I've got to push a little. Do you know what I mean? To give birth to this, there's got to be a labor. There's got to be the process of pushing. And to give birth to anything, there's got to be a labor. There's got to be a process of pushing. The revolutionary, I will say this, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, I'm a Christian. And if we want to take it there, right, Jesus dealt with all kinds of people. He talked with all kinds of people. He broke bread with all kinds of people. So I really don't know what you mean. And he came for all kinds of people. You know, what it sounds like to me, if you've heard the story of the 2 men that went into the temple to pray, and one man was like, I'm so glad, like, I'm not like this guy is. I'm not this, I'm not that. And then the other man said, God have mercy on me, the sinner. And one went out justified and one didn't. So I'll just go with God have mercy on me, a sinner. And I'm not going to be the dude that stands up and goes, this person did that. And I'm glad I'm not like that person. And this person's problem is that. that scripture is there for a reason. That parable is there for us to learn from. So I would say we need to get introspective instead of, judging. And again, like, I love your comments. I appreciate your voice. Like, it's nothing negative towards you. I'm just saying, like, that's how I vibe. You know what I mean?
I really feel like that question was like, or that statement was on the same lines as when white people come in and say, well, if you don't like it, why don't you go back to Africa? Like, how is that any different than saying, well, why would you stay in a country that you feel like is oppressing you? It's not about us feeling like it's oppressing us. It is, but our oppression is global. But I'm not going to get back into that. I think it's real interesting how you have people running around with these same white supremacist talking points and responses to everything. We were born in this country. So rather than asking us, why don't we leave? Why don't you be asking, why don't they just not have racism and oppression in this country so that we don't have to leave?
Why should we have to leave? Yeah, that's what I would wonder. Why do we have to go? Like, I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't lynched anybody up. I haven't set anybody on fire. I haven't bashed any babies' heads in. I'm not running around violating people's personal rights by stopping them and putting my hands on them and frisking them for no good reason. I don't have a prison industrial complex that's built to garner slave labor that I have to constantly fill with bodies for the corporations that are making money off of the fact that they can get labor for little to nothing. I don't have systems set in place where I funnel in drugs into communities. You know what I'm saying? Why should I have to go somewhere? I'm not the problem, right? So why should I have to move? But I could see the system usurped. I could see the system revamped. I could see something that's broken and not working fixed. I can work toward the betterment of my people. I can try to diverge from the oppression that's going on. It's sort of like, I feel like a lot of our people feel like it's sort of like if you're a battered woman, right? And you're with this man and he hits you so bad that he breaks your jaw, he screws up your collarbone, he throws you down a flight of stairs, he breaks your leg, right? So you get into a new relationship. And all he does is slap you. And you go, it's not so bad, you know what I mean? Like, you're not as abused as you were before. Like, what's the problem with this? He's still slapping me, man. So what, he didn't break my jaw. So what, he didn't, crack my collarbone. So what, my leg's not broken this time. The slapping's not okay either. Is it not as bad? Sure, it's not as bad for our people anymore. But is it right? No, it's equally wrong. And so why should I, as the person getting slapped, be the subject of any directional verbiage about disconnection and removal? Why wouldn't the abuser be disconnected and removed? Help that make sense for me. I just want to know.
Right, because why not tell white people if they're gonna, why don't they just take their oppression back to Europe or the Caucasus Mountains? Because I mean, it wouldn't make sense for you to ask a victim, why don't they just get up and leave a country that their ancestors built with their blood, sweat, and tears? Why wouldn't you ask the degenerates who are oppressing them why they don't go back to the Caucasus Mountains and create their little cave civilization and leave everyone else alone? Like, why not ask them that?
Yeah. I think a lot of times we turn things on ourselves. Under one of my other videos, Omega, are you in the comment section? Omega, yeah, you are in the comment section. So Omega came, and it was under the one where I was talking about white people and like how they have a political agenda to have access to children for sex. And I brought up NAMBLA and all that. And Omega, you came under, I I don't know if it was you, Omega Dread. It might have been a different Omega. Came under the comment section was basically like, it wasn't you, Omega Dreads. It was Alpha Omega, I believe. Came under the comment section and was like, well, I'm so disturbed. I just found that most Black people make up a shocking majority of like the people on sexual, like the sexual registry for sexual predators and like just some random stuff. And I was just like, why? Why? I made 2 videos about Black people molesting Black children. And nobody brought up white people molesting Black children on those videos. But I make 1 video about white people creating policies to have access to children. And everybody wants to talk about what Black people are doing. Why didn't y'all want to talk about what white people were doing when I was speaking of the Black issue? But if I bring up white people, you want to point the finger at Black. And that goes back to what Angel was saying at the end of that, is that we have and he worded this better than I probably will. We have a sickness in us that when we start talking about what is wrong that other people are doing or other groups are doing or white people are doing, we reverse that and we want to invert the lens on ourselves. And we don't want to have the discussion about the other guy. We want to have the discussion about ourselves. I'm all for introspection and fixing our community and the issues of our community. But it is okay for us to speak on what someone else is doing wrong without inverting the lens on ourselves. Again, you know what I mean? Like I said, 2 videos about Black people molesting Black people. No one talked about what the white man was doing, even though they have a whole flipping organization and organizations all over the world to have access to children's bodies. But the minute I bring up white people doing it, well, what about the Black people? Well, the Black people, I addressed them earlier. Can we talk about what white people are doing now? Do you know what I mean? Do we always have to flip it and demonize ourselves? What in us makes us do that? What in us makes us want to demonize our own all the time? Hold our own accountable all the time? Why don't we ever want to hold anybody else accountable for their behavior? You know, can both things not happen? That is something that really concerns me. It really does. Why are you staying in the system? No, why does the system exist? Why aren't they ending their own sick system? That's the question. Why should the burden be on the person who's not doing the egregious act? Why should the burden be on us as a people for something that we're not implementing? Like, that's the question.
Well, if you think about it, Irene, that's a form of submission, not holding your oppressor accountable for their actions, but trying to hold the oppressed accountable for being oppressed. Because it's easier to do that than to go and question the dominating force as to why they're engaging in degenerate, unfair, and oppressive behavior. So to me, I just look at it as another way for them to submit.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the stuff we have to have fixed, like in our community. Simon said, I've left jobs because I thought the job was oppressive. It's just really strange to me that one would stay in a whole country that is oppressing me. I didn't try to change the job, I just left. Well, let's be clear. The country isn't oppressing me. The country is just a piece of land, right? I'm talking about a system. And why should I have to leave? I was born here. Why do I have to go anywhere? I don't have to go anywhere. What I can do is I can change the system. I can work toward changing the system. That's what I can do. Why should I have to leave versus changing how things are? What in your heart makes you think that's the solution?
Because that person is a coward, and I don't know if it's he or she is telling you, rather than stand up to someone's bullying, I'm just going to leave. Whether to stand up to oppression, I'm just going to run. Because it's easier to run. It's harder to fight. So to me, I look at those people as cowardly, submissive, little, really planty bugs, actually.
Yeah, Simone's saying there are less oppressive countries. Again, that goes back to the abuse situation that I talked about. So you're not cracking my collarbone and breaking my jawbone, but you're slapping me. So it's okay because it's not as bad as it could be. Like there are worse places, there's worse types of abuse. So just be quiet because you've got it good relative to the really bad stuff. That shouldn't be our measure, right? Oh, well, it could be worse. There are worse places. This is okay. Why should that be the measure? Help me understand that. Why should the fact that somebody else is willing to do something even worse, the fact that I don't live in apartheid, like why should that be the measure? Why shouldn't the measure be what's right? Why is the wronger of the wrongest the measure and not what is right? That would be my question. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe we just think of things in a different way. Maybe we just think of things in a very different way.
And it's a fucking war, bro. Like you just can't get up and just run when you're at war. And I think that's what Cynthia is saying. Like we're all strategizing, and I'm not picking any flank or any aspect of the war to say is more important than the other. I'm just saying we're stuck on this battlefield over here, and we want to get to the point where we can focus as a unit those who are fighting on the entire battlefield. But right now, if you feel like Black people in America should leave, I feel that you should be creating some place for us to come to. You should be creating some type of initiative now to early introduce us to life in your country and to connect us with people that will help us to be able to sustain ourselves, at least in your country. And these are things that we can do and create exit stands. But this mindset of re-exiting America, going back to Africa, going to the Aboriginal places and aligning with Black people, this is newly rebirthed and is now empowered by the internet. And we're just not taking advantage of that. So some of these questions, we got to get used to posing the answers to them already. Just don't throw them up there as like, so why don't you do this? No, you thought it. It's a good idea. So now answer that question. Well, maybe it's hard for Black Americans to travel. So maybe I should look up some African, airports in my country to set up some type of, exchange thing or something there, or set up some type of thing with the government. Whatever it is to make this transition easy for us, because that's going to be something that's going to be happening when and it's not about exiting. I don't look at it as an exodus. I look at it as expansion. So I have plans on being in Haiti. I have plans on doing something in Grenada. I have plans on doing something in Nigeria. I got plans on doing something all throughout Africa if possible. But, and also in America, and then from there expanding to other places where Black people are at throughout the world. And this is just something that we need to be looking at and finding ways to connect our dots with our family all over the world.
I just want to also add that you can't run from a mindset and a group of people who want to carry that ideology throughout all nations. Do you know what I mean? Run where? Run to where they've been more effective at implementation of their system? Run where? At some point, you have to stop running and you have to just face the situation and deal with it, right? And also, Simone, I just want you to think about this because we had such a good discussion yesterday. And I really do like you. I want you to think about why it is that you have all of these thoughts, right? You think that there is sort of a nefarious plan that Black women have put together to pull successful Black men into the community and under the guise of building Black business, bouncing around Black money, segregating ourselves to a point so we can strengthen ourselves. But in the same breath, you think that Black women who are successful don't make good partners. Why you would think that the system is not racist per se, but then you acknowledged that if we work to build those communities, that we might have to justify that action and then be discriminated against in other areas. You know what I mean? How can you think those two things at once? This is kind of a recap of what we talked about together yesterday, you know, or why you think that we as a people bear the responsibility not to fix and address the issues that are here and address the issues that are in places where our people are, but that we should be forced to leave our own homes and find a place where the system doesn't exist rather than the system being repaired. So I don't know if you if you want to, I would just ponder all of those thoughts have a vein, you know what I mean? And they're pulsing on the same wavelength. And I would just ask myself, why? Why is my mind there? Why is this where my mind is? Why is this how I view things? And does it make sense? Do you know what I mean? I mean, you talked to me yesterday. You know where I stand on a lot of these things, but I just find that a lot of your thought process, it works in a certain direction. And it would be great if you understood why that is, you know? Um, with that said, I do, you know, but thank you so much, Cynthia and QueButter. I really appreciate that you guys came through, and Taz came through a little bit earlier. I'll just say my final thoughts. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts. I just want to say that we really have to stop with the divisions. We have to stop with the finger pointing at each other. There's a way that we can address the issues, the very real issues that we have in our community, and still work together. And we need to work toward that. And I feel like if you don't want to do that work, then the least you can do, right? If you can't do the work, the least you can do is remove yourself from conversations amongst people who want to do the work, because then you become a distraction with your dissension, right? It is best that you congregate with like minded people. And so, if people who want to work together, if they're not like minded to you, then have the respect for us to not join in our discussions so that you don't inhibit or slow down the progress that we're doing, and you just do you. You know, if you don't want strong Black families, you don't want to get married, you don't want relationships, if you don't want to work with people who don't share your same ideologies, that's fine. But if that's the case, then stick with your group that is like minded and allow us to work together, because that's the choice that we're making. Do you know what I mean? And try not to be a thorn in the side of that progress. Because what is the purpose? You know, what's the purpose to do that? Why would you want to sabotage a thing that you don't want to be a part of? And for the rest of y'all, I would say, let's do the work. Do you know what I mean? As men and women, let's work together as Black people. Let's come together on our ideologies and beliefs. Let's hear each other and not judge so much how the message is coming, but really hear what the other person is saying, and try to internalize that and act on that. And also, if you're on the fence, you're not sure where you stand, but you're attracted to the message, you know, go ahead and do some introspection so that you can vet out and get rid of some of the things in you that may be stopping you from understanding why the work needs to be done, and doing your part to contribute, you know? And then I'll reiterate again, for everybody else, at the very least, just stay out of the way. Just stay out of the way and let the people who want to do it, do it. And with that said, that's all that I have to say. Do you guys have anything to say before we go? No, no.
Yo, peace, man. Fuck these crackers, peace.
Okay. Bye, QueButter. Cynthia, did you go off? Okay, Cynthia may have gone somewhere. Okay. So with that said, you guys, I'll probably talk to you guys a little bit later, but I'm hungry, y'all. I want to make some pasta and eat some food, and then I will see if I can go listen to somebody's live stream, or I'll come back on and I'll talk to you guys, and we'll just chill next time, right? We'll just have a chill live stream. I'm gonna take all this jewelry off so that I can make some pasta. And I just literally threw my bracelet at y'all. That's crazy. I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.